I want to talk to David, who's calling in from South Carolina. So, David, you are live on Talk Heathen. What's up?
Recently had a Facebook discussion with a really old, really dear friend of mine about a actual Talk Heathen episode, well, clip that I shared along, and it wasn't a clip that was directly trying to say, hey, God is dead, or or anything along that line. It was more of a point about how atheists act, how we, how and why we take some of the positions we do. That particularly was the one about why atheists sometimes engage in mockery.
Yeah.
But as part of that, got accused of proselytizing, as much as a street preacher would, and that wasn't my intent. But I see I can see why he thinks that, but I'm at a loss for words about how to communicate why I think that atheist activism is important, but still how to distinguish that from proselytization.
Yeah. The short answer is, if there wasn't religion, then there wouldn't be any atheist activism. Because what would be the point, right? If everybody felt the same way about things. But people have different ideas and different beliefs, and engaging with those ideas, I don't think is necessarily proselytization. Now, I guess it does depend on what kind of atheist you are and how you feel about your atheism, and maybe how you go about it. But the truth is, for the majority of history, there hasn't really been, at least, like in the United States, for example, like there hasn't been another Atheist Community of Austin. There's been a couple of organizations here and there, and there still are today, but groups like this one are the vast minority in a country just full of churches on every single street corner. So, to say that we're the ones engaging in proselytization, when, especially coming from someone who believes in a religion and who's part of a religion that has been part of the colonial powers in the world that has spread the religion to like every ends of the earth, and to be accused of that, it's just ironic, first of all, but also, like, if your ideas are true, or rather, if you believe in true things, then you shouldn't be scared about what other people say. What other people bringing their ideas out, it shouldn't matter. And I feel like it's just an excuse to kind of just break people down and be like, oh, I know you are, but what am I? Kind of response to that. It doesn't really hold any merit. And again, it does matter what you do with this kind of thing. Like, if I may not vibe with you if you're at a funeral and for somebody's grandmother, and you're saying, well, she's not really in heaven, right? Like, okay, like maybe there's limits there. But if we're talking about like the systemic oppression of,
I try to edge away from that kind of thing.
You're right. But if we're talking about the systemic oppression of gay and trans people in the United States, for example, or in other countries, and because of religious activism being a part of that, then we should have a conversation about that. You don't just get to do whatever you want there. But anyway, Jimmy, what are your thoughts?
So as far as what's happening to you is just a cheapening of terms. It's what people do. They like to do it with the word faith too. And what's funny is that there's an admission when they say it that those terms are negative terms. So
right, yeah.
It's very interesting the way they're like, you have faith too, when if you actually look at what faith means in that regard, no, we absolutely don't. But they're saying it as though that's a gotcha because they're acknowledging the negativity of faith. Proselytization, by definition, is trying to convert a person from one religion to another. Atheism isn't a religion, thereby it can't be proselytization. That said, that could also mean in reverse, you can't proselytize to an atheist because you're not converting them from. So obviously there is some nuance to this term, because I'm sure we've all felt very proselytized to. And so it's just a matter of, okay, define your words then. And anytime you get that thing where they try and like hold you down to a word, make them provide a definition, and then go, okay, well then by your definition of proselytization, which isn't the definition, sure, but by the actual definition, no, I'm not. So that's my two-part response to that challenge.
I see us talking about this stuff.
That is
go ahead.
I think that is a little bit helpful. Part of where he was coming from, not being a very religious person himself, was, well, if you don't believe in a God or anything like that, why do you care what anyone else believes? And part of why I maybe once a month or so share things like this along is to make to just aid in visibility and to help make sure that any in my extended friends group who may be questioning or may actually be undercover atheists know that there's someone out there that they have a connection to, that they could actually speak to. And I don't see that as proselytization, but it still hurts because this is someone who I've known since high school. And,
so I would stop answering so many questions and ask more. And the one I would ask there is, even if you just jump with all right, let's say that I'm going to agree with your terms that I am doing something similar. Why should atheists not advocate for their own interests, their own positions, when religion, it's just universally accepted, and when you are certain religions, expected that you will do that? That's probably what I would do.
Yep. Yeah. If you are a Muslim, for example, you ask him hey, if you tell me as a Muslim, wouldn't it make sense for me to advocate for the Muslim position if I think the tenets of Islam are correct? Wouldn't you do the same thing if that was your beliefs? And as atheists, we do have, they're not directly related to atheism per se, but a lot of us have beliefs about humanism, have beliefs about what a society should look like. Just because you don't have a religion doesn't mean you don't have an opinion about things. So it's not really fair to just say, oh, you can't talk about it because you don't view things the same way. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I would point that out too.
And before someone whines in the comments, because I realized that I didn't offer enough nuance for what I just said, I don't generally mean stop answering questions, but specifically questions that are only built to put you on the defensive.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that they're useless, because you're not actually engaging in a debate or a conversation. You're engaging in a game,
right,
where they're just let me see how much I can keep this person on the hot seat and get their blood pressure up.
It stops being a conversation. It becomes an interrogation session, right? Yeah. They're just going to keep asking you questions until they can finally wear you down and try to make a point against you. So sometimes those conversations happen and they're not super healthy. So if that's what's going on, I suggest you kind of reevaluate it and see if you can get it. Like Jimmy said, get around that. See if you can ask them some questions, and hopefully not do the same thing.
Yeah, there's this wild imbalance too, where right now, if somebody tells me that they're a theist, a space theist, my first question is going to be, what kind of theist are you? For some reason, we don't do that with atheists, because there are no tenets of atheism except for that we don't believe in God. The fact that people are you just said atheist, I got my whole world ahead of me, here's my list of script. And then you're going to find out that there are atheists that believe in Nazi magic.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's totally true. I thought my definition of atheist was someone who believed in science, I think, was the thing I used, which is such a vague, nondescript, meaningless definition. And obviously there's a lot of atheists that don't follow current science, so it can vary just as much as Christianity can vary too. But I think that's all the time we got for this call here, David, unless you had another quick point you want to make.
No, I think that's fine. Thank you very much. That actually was helpful.
Awesome. Thanks. Glad we could help out, David. Hope your conversations go well, and keep on keeping on, man. I know it sucks being on the end of that interrogation. I sometimes it's not even that I'm trying to quote unquote proselytize or bring my point of view. Sometimes I'm just living my life and people kind of just question what I'm doing and why I have to be the way that I am. So it can be frustrating.